Welcome to The Shadow Side with Safrianna, the podcast where we illuminate what others too often keep hidden in the dark. I'm your host, Safrianna Luna, and I believe that true growth and healing happen when we're brave enough to explore the shadows. As you listen, may you find greater understanding and awareness around your personal stories and collective trends. Take care of yourself, and let's dive in. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of The Shadow Side with Safrianna. I am so excited today, though I don't know that excited should be the right word, but I am genuinely to talk about the shadow side of healing and dis-ease and all of these experiences we have where our body feels out of alignment. And this is just such a potent topic. It's a very personal topic to me. And I am so delighted to be joined by Whitney Shook, one of my new friends that I met over on Substack, to talk about illness as a portal today. So, Whitney, if you'd be so kind as to introduce yourself.
Yeah. Hey, everyone. My name is Whitney. I am a holistic nutritionist, specifically for women with Hashimoto's, but also for folks who are dealing with complex chronic illnesses, and really like to focus on doing health softer as sort of a form of tending to yourself versus a lot of these really strict, dogmatic approaches that many people have tried to healing. So that's kind of what I do in my practice, is meet people where they're at and support them in feeling like themselves again without being really hard on themselves.
Beautiful. I love this health softer and to remove these strict and rigid like guidelines, because those so often make them more complicated, but we'll get into that.
Yes.
In case you don't know me, I'm Safrianna Luna, the queer spirit guide. I'm a trauma therapist turned transformational mentor, druidic priestess, speaker, and author. I like to be a multi-passionate human, and the Shadow Side podcast is one of my passions because I think we just don't talk about the tough stuff enough to bring it into the light so we can actually do something with it.
Mm-hmm.
Our health is absolutely foundational to how we show up in the world, because it's our body vessel moving through life. And so I love that we kind of started with the idea that so many times when people have, we'll call it an issue right now, they're having a symptom, it's a problem for them, they want to do something about it, they seek help. And so often they're given these very rigid standards. You have to follow exactly this, you need to do that, you need to eliminate that. What's the impact of that you see on people when they're given this strict protocol?
Yeah. I mean, as a former therapist, I don't know if you're still practicing, we see that people get into orthorexic patterns, right? Where they become very obsessive. They're so hyper-focused on their health and their healing, and they have tunnel vision, right? And what that does is it creates stress in the body. We have high cortisol, right? And it creates this cascade of issues beyond what they initially came in with,
Yes.
And so that's why it's so important to kind of look at the whole person versus just this list of things to do and not do.
Yeah. And that cascade of issues that comes from stress, like so many underlying things are stress responses to the world. Like, I'll just use myself as an example. I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia in 2019. And fibromyalgia is sort of we can't really figure out what's going on with you disease, right? Your body is overly tender, you're sore, you're fatigued, you're having sleep issues, stress and trauma. I know, yes, I'm still a therapist. I still practice and I still look at all of these things. And the mind-body connection is so impactful. So then when a doctor is shaming us or trying to make it stricter on us, that does not help. So the shadow of trying to overheal, I wonder if you'll speak to that, because I think that is a big shadow. We get in this perfectionism trap where we're trying to overheal ourselves. It's such a focus that it's just another mask. It's just another Band-Aid.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, your health is your foundation, as you mentioned before. And so there's so much riding on it, right? You just want to feel good so you can show up in the world the way that somewhere inside of you you're capable of, but you feel hindered by your body. And so what happens, right, is like if somebody gives you this ray of hope, right? You cling to it. You're like, oh my gosh, this worked for that person. Maybe it can work for me too if I just try harder, right? And because so many of us with autoimmune disease have a history of trauma, I think we have this sort of like over sense of control around it, right? Where we're like, well, if my body's not working the way I want it to, maybe my life hasn't turned out the way I want it to, if only there's this one thing that I can cling to. And we cling to it so hard, right? We just need this possibility in our lives. And then we forget everything else, right? And healing is just so multifaceted. Like it can't just be about that one single ray. There are so many rays of hope in so many categories. And if you're just like working with somebody, right, who only sees the nutrition and doesn't see you as a human and all these other complex layers, then they're just going to be pushing you so hard to do the thing and then blaming you when it doesn't work out, right? And you blame yourself. And then we're in this cycle, right? We get back to that cycle of pain and suffering.
Yes. And this is such a complex intersection because I know so many people with chronic fatigue, illness, whatever, however it's showing up, something chronic, that have this deep desire to make an impact in the world. They want to show up. They want to have the energy to do what they're here to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then they don't have it because the impact of trauma, stress, many of them women, right? Or raised as women who had this chronic level of stress.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then there's such this shame, like, why is my body punishing me? What did I do wrong?
Thorns.
You know, I need to fix this. And that chasing that quick fix never works because we are holistic beings. What are some of those elements that you see people missing in sort of the holistic view of their health?
Yeah. I mean, I think obviously like the mental health piece, like I kind of am always saying it is physical. Like we do have to approach the physical part. You can't really get around it. Right. So many people are like, oh, if you just like, oh, if you just work on your nervous system, all of you will be healed. Right. And I think that creates a false sense. Like it's just not true. It can certainly help. Right. So I think it's kind of a mind, body, spirit, right? We need to tend to ourselves. We need to tend to the body. We do need the nutritional approach, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be as rigid as a lot of people believe. We need to tend to the nervous system and the mind. And then we need to tend to the spirit, right? Like I truly believe that we need to be able to hold on to something outside of ourselves. And I don't often talk about this, but like you have to have like a bigger belief, right? A bigger why, a bigger belief that things working out can be possible for us, right? This spirit part, we need to connect to like, whether it's your higher self, it's God, it's the universe, right? I really think that needs to be part of people's healing experience. And that turns some people off.
I mean, I agree with you completely, though. I teach about what I call the 5 bodies, what you said, mind, body, spirit, plus we'll throw the emotional body in there, and then the communal body, the planet, the collective.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think that the spiritual component, there's so much trauma around that.
Yeah. Oh my God.
That gets cut off.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then that keeps us disconnected from connecting with our soul or our higher self or whatever you want to call it. And that keeps us stuck in our brain. And then that gets the stuff lodged in our body. It's so hard to unstick if you don't have this multimodal approach. So
100%.
I wanted to talk about like the energetics behind autoimmune disease and sort of how this can come about from conditions as messages from the body, and also tying in that spiritual component here. So, you know, when you're in your experience, I know from my experience and my dis-ease, my autoimmune stuff it's self-worth stuff, it's trauma, it's all of that devaluation. But what are some of the other energetic components of autoimmune conditions that you see? So low self-worth, of course.
Low self-worth. Honestly, I feel like all of it, because I have done a lot of like brain rewiring and timeline therapy for folks. And I truly believe that even deeper than the self-worth comes to this, it's love.
Mm.
right? It's like this desire to be loved that hasn't been met at some point in your life, right? And so then we develop these stories about it, and those stories live in the body. And that is what, from a spiritual, emotional standpoint, creates this. The body responds, like your cells are listening to everything that you're saying to yourself. And so if you're kind of like, hey, I'm a piece of shit, or I don't deserve that, or things don't work out for me, right? Like, hey, why would your body show up any differently? And I want to be careful here. And we kind of touched on this on Substack the other day when we were chatting back and forth, but it's like, I also don't want to put all the blame on the person, because
Correct.
this isn't your fault. It is not your fault. But we do have a responsibility to bring awareness to these really hard things if we want to feel better, right?
Yeah.
And it's life work. It's not like, oh, I figure out what my root cause is from an emotional standpoint, and I work with my therapist or my coach, and ta-da, like everything is better. Like these stories will surface, they will come up for you. The world is full of landmines, right?
Yeah.
And we don't know when they're coming. When that pain will resurface, or those stories, like we'll have to try and make sense of our lives through those stories. And then maybe the symptoms start to bubble up again. And so, I mean, it's cliche at this point, but it's not a linear experience.
Right.
So yeah, I truly believe that it all circles back to love, and then the stories come up from there.
I love that. I'm a very unconditional love person, and think that the universe is love and all of that. So when we're out of alignment, we're out of
Mhm.
alignment with that fundamental power of love within us. And yes, we're not trying to shame or blame anybody,
Mhm.
right? Like you are not responsible for the original trauma that you endured as a child. You are not responsible for the things that you were exposed to when you had no choice. You
Mm.
are responsible for being an adult, doing your best to tend to yourself now. And that does not mean what we were talking about earlier, where you overdo it and you're constantly healing and you're
Mhm.
grinding and it's
Mhm.
creating more stress.
Mhm.
It is about coming back into this like softness, the soft health
Mhm.
that you talked about
Mhm.
earlier. So
Mhm.
there's so many different directions I want to go here. This is just going to be very all over the place. That's what it is.
Yeah, let's do
But
it.
I want to juxtapose that against kind of the soft health approach. What's possible for us when we have more compassion and grace for ourselves around these experiences.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Well, I think soft soft can be slow, right?
Mm.
Like I think there's pros and cons to both avenues, right? Like if we go really strict, there are some symptoms that will go away really, really fast, but then we end up with other issues, right? But if we can go slow, if we can go soft, if we can take our time and really be aware of these different bodies, right, that are popping up, then what's possible is that you're healing beyond the body, right? Like when you take things softer and slower. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it also like it's it stops you from having to learn things the hard way, if that makes sense.
Pushing too hard and then being like, oh, that didn't
Yeah.
work. And I harmed myself more in the process. What?
Yes.
We
Exactly.
never
Yes.
do that.
Never. Yeah, no. I mean, like, why do we learn things the hard way so that maybe the listeners don't have to?
Yes,
Here's hoping.
exactly. Oh my gosh. I see the soft health as moving away from internalized ableism.
Mhm.
I know for me, one of the hard intersections is I have all these things I want to do and I want to make an impact and I'm here to have a big impact. Chronic stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And then there's this push past desire. There's
Yeah.
just push past it. And this is kind of what society tells us. This is what
Mhm.
so many doctors tell us. This is unfortunately what the dominant society that wants us to be productive tells us is just keep pushing. It's just, it is what it is. Push past it, pull yourself up by the bootstraps and keep
Mhm.
going.
Mhm.
So unpacking that internalized ableism for me is half trying to stay empowered And
Mhm.
also trying not to shame or guilt myself for the current symptomology I'm experiencing.
Mhm.
So I'd love to talk a little bit about that. Like, how do we be in the both and as we're transitioning out of perhaps
Mm.
not the health we want into more alignment?
Yeah, I think it's just I'm kind of curious to hear what it is for you. I know for me personally, it's kind of like having that awareness of the hard, right? Of like, yeah, this is hard and these symptoms are popping up and I want to fixate on them. Like I really want to fixate on them so that because I there's a story that's like if I fixate on this, it will get better faster. Right?
Yeah. I'll be able to figure it out. I'll find the answer in there if I just look at it long enough,
Right.
hard enough.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So like it's just again, I'm going to sound repetitive, but it's like bringing awareness to those stories, right? Like it's the noticing. It's
Mhm.
the this it's like you get trapped in it and then finally you have to something is going to teach you, right? Like, oh wow, this is going a little too far. Whoa, who's inside of me? Like what part of me is feeling that need to cling, right? So it's the gentle awareness, bringing that gentle awareness to the hyperfixation or the body symptoms, right? And also having, I guess, the tools, right? The tools to say, "Hey, babe," or "Hey, like it's you're safe," right? Ultimately, it all kind of comes down to that: is it, we all want to feel safe, and when our body feels out of control, we don't feel that way. So holding those two truths, right? Like my body can be in a place that it's struggling, and sometimes my therapist will be like, this is just what your body, this was just your story on in this life, right? Like holding that truth, like that part of this is my story in this life, and maybe there's a little bit that I can gently do to support myself physically through it.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up like the part of ourself that might be gripping on. I'm huge into parts and I
Mhm.
love to, just this topic, illness as a portal,
Mhm.
symptom as a portal,
Yeah.
sensation as a portal, because I've gotten to really know, and I encourage people out there to try this in themselves because this is the deep noticing. Oh, I have a reoccurring pain on the right side of my head. What does that mean? What is that trying to tell me? Oh, I have a reoccurring pain on the left side of my head. What is that telling me? I've learned to differentiate little pings in my body.
Mhm.
The best example is I get a cramp on the top of my right foot between my pinky toe and my fourth toe. And that is the slow down, you're rushing.
Mm.
So I'll just suddenly get a foot cramp and I'm like, oh, I'm rushing through my life and I stop what I'm doing and I take a breath and the foot cramp goes away. So
Yes. Yes.
sometimes parts of us are trying so desperately to get our attention to say, hey,
Mhm.
something's a little off over here. And then it gets bigger and bigger if we don't tune in to listen.
Yeah.
So there's this
Yeah.
interesting thing like the hyper fixating and sort of the I don't use this word lightly, but the wrong way because it doesn't get us anywhere. It's just
Yeah.
spinning
Yes.
versus kind of the hey babe, what's going on in there? Like, and
Mhm.
that's how I literally demonstrate it. Like I'll put my hands on myself and be like,
Yes.
hey, what's going on? To connect with that part, right?
Mhm, mhm. Right. Like, are you trying to protect me? Are you the exile? Right. Like, who is in here trying to talk to me right now? Right. Or, yeah, yes. Is that part trying to? It's trying to get your attention. Right. So
Yeah.
tuning into it, just like you said. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you need? What are you trying to tell me? How can I love on you in the right way?
Yeah. And what's interesting, the two head pains, one is
Mhm.
the right side is someone else doesn't love me, and the left side is I
Oh.
don't love myself. So I'm
Ooh.
able to be, okay, we need to just
Ooh.
come back to love. Like, and so
Yes.
that's this noticing process, I
Mhm,
think is
mhm.
something that people bypass because they want that answer from a medical professional.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, we grew up in this world where doctors were gods, right? Like, I mean, you didn't, it's so interesting, like growing up in the 90s and the early 2000s without access to the information that we have now. You went to a doctor and they either said, yes, there's something wrong with you, here's a pill, or in a lot of cases for people who have dealt with complex chronic illness and symptoms that were going under the radar, right? And so we just continue to suffer. And so that can be so wounding as well and resurface, right? Like, I forget the question that you asked me.
There's no question right now.
I may be going on a tangent here, but like I remember going to doctor after doctor, and you probably have a similar experience where it's like I just went to all these doctors. My hair was falling out in chunks, like in chunks. It wasn't just like it wasn't like, oh, the fatigue that I've been dealing with, or like the weird metabolism stuff that just doesn't really add up or make sense, right? It was like I had patches of hair falling out that were completely bald. And I would go to all of these doctors over and over and over again. And they would say, there's nothing wrong with you. Right. And it just felt like that dismissiveness of childhood where it's like, oh, another person is just telling me like, there's something wrong with, like, there's obviously something wrong with you. Right. Like physically, there was no denying it, but it was just you were overlooked or not heard. Right. And so I feel like that's another thing that really comes up through the chronic illness experience. And it's like, okay, that sucks. And we are in it and we are marinating in it and it is hard, right? But if we're talking about it as a portal, when you are dealing with these things that no one else will support you with or help you through, you're like, well, shit, it's just me. I'm on my own. And that really hurts. But also, it can be really empowering and healing because so many of us grew up without autonomy and kind of circling back to the doctor thing, right? Like we go to these doctors and we feel like we have no control over our own outcomes, right? It's just the diagnosis and bye. Yeah, so I think the chronic illness and also doing it in a way, where we're looking at things holistically really gives us our power back. I'm curious about your experience with all of that.
I mean, yes, I have had, and I know so many people I work with too, like this is the story, being disempowered with the medical system, being shunned, rejected, shut down, dismissed, silenced, pushed off to another specialist. And then it's just
Yes.
this like constant chasing. And on top of that, like, yeah, I mean, my fibromyalgia diagnosis was a hot mess, and I still felt like I got nothing in the end other than we can give you some opioids. And I said, no, thank you. That's the one thing I don't want to do. Like,
Because your pain was just so severe.
right. And I was like, no, I will go elsewhere and try to find some alternative. And like medical cannabis ended up being a gateway for that.
Good.
But like the doctors were telling me, no, don't do that. Do the opioids instead. And I'm like, oh, no, 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 no. So and I see people like, I have people in my family with chronic illness with things like lupus and MS and all of these complex conditions that come out of generational trauma, guarantee it.
1,000%.
Yeah. And they're on 15, 25 pills in some cases with all of these interactions. And that does not help because the symptoms are still there. They're still being
Right.
masked and the root is not being worked on.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And maybe that's what they need, right? Like maybe not everybody came here to circle back to my therapist, right? Like maybe that's not their journey in this lifetime, right?
Yeah.
But for us, it was our journey to say, oh, hold on, that doesn't feel good. And thank
Right.
goodness that we did, right?
Right.
Because it has not only allowed us to not, well, you specifically not be on opioids, like, oh my gosh, but also it's allowed you to look deeper and talk to these parts of you that are reoccurring and maybe not pass that on to partners or like if you decide to have children, right? Like maybe you're not passing. Yeah, I know. Like what? The world is on fire. I made a bad choice. No, I'm just kidding. I love my kids.
We really hope that your kids have a bright future ahead of them.
We hope
They'll
there's
look great.
water. Yeah. I'm like, do I need to be training them for the water wars? I don't know. But yeah, I am grateful for the struggle. And it's not every day that I feel that way, but I'm so much better than I was before this happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the big thing in this is reclaiming our agency,
Mhm.
reclaiming our power. For me, it was here, we're going to give you this medication. And I said, no, that's not what I want to do. And I see that from people all the time now. And I'm glad like they have that question in themselves. Do I want to just take this medication? Do I want to take the answer that's been given to me first?
Mhm.
Or do I
Mhm.
want to explore alternatives? And medication is often a great answer.
Yeah.
Like, this is not being an anti-medication conversation. It's
No.
that body sovereignty and not just
Ugh.
taking things at face value and not just immediately jumping for the quick fix,
Yes.
but building a gentler, more sustainable relationship with our bodies and what our bodies are trying to tell us.
Yes. And I'm going to say this, it's hard.
It
It is
is.
hard to take this path. It is. It's different and it's like, but it's worth it, you know? And I agree with you. Like, I think there is a time and a place for medication. And I've come far from where I was when I first started my holistic journey because I'm like, I've stayed off thyroid meds. Anybody can do it, right? And I've changed my tune. Like, not everybody should be off thyroid medication. Some people really need it. And when they do my program, a lot of times they're able to lower their thyroid medication when they take a more holistic approach, right? But when we go, like, whether we're talking about medication or we're talking about food or we're talking about supplements or we're talking about the energetic spiritual side of healing, it is easy to get in that trap of all or nothing, right? And so when we do health softer, we kind of like pull back and we say, oh, and we can use our discernment and we can say, this sounds good for me in this moment, right? This doesn't have to be forever. And with the medication conversation, like I do think it is something that we should never shame people about if
Right.
they need to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, I've also had conversations with that temporary. Sometimes people will go on a medication temporarily and come
Mhm.
off of it. As long
Mhm.
as you are doing that in a wise way and taking care of your body.
Sure, yeah, like doctors, talk to your doctor about it.
Talk to your
Doctors
doctor about
can't help you with the pharmaceutical side of things. Please don't just go rogue.
or talk to a pharmacist.
Yes.
Whomever you get, not just quitting your meds cold
Oh
turkey.
gosh.
That's not great. That is not
Mhm.
great.
We don't love that for you.
We will say that very clearly. Please don't quit your meds cold turkey because that can
Mhm.
have unforeseen consequences.
Yes.
But yeah, like being able to have this discernment and release any shame when we do decide I'm going to take the supplement, this medication, this support for my body. I've been on antidepressants for big chunks of my life because I needed them at that time. And then
Yeah.
the nutritional
Yeah.
mindfulness and other stuff was enough at other points in my life. Like
Yeah.
there is no one size fits all in this, but the gentleness. So we've talked about
Mhm.
listening to parts of yourself.
Mhm.
You've talked a little bit about the nutritional foundation,
Mhm.
but and I love nutrition and like
Oh,
I
good.
see the way I describe nutrition is literally like the saying you are what you eat is
Yeah.
so true because
Mhm.
that's the building blocks that make your cells.
Mhm.
So when it comes to, I'm curious, clients that come in really stressed, clients that come in feeling just like out of themselves, what are some of usually the first nutritional foundations that you
Yeah.
use to help support them
Mhm.
in the base?
Yeah. So I give them meal plans, right? I give them like my Hashimoto's meal plans. We focus on nutrient density, but also I need to meet people where they're at. Like if I have like someone who is psychotically stressed, they're not okay, right? I'm not going to put them on an extreme protocol. I don't like to put anybody on an extreme protocol,
Right.
right? But it's like a lot of people, if they get a meal plan, and it depends on the person, right? Like it's so different for every person. Some people want to list and make their own foods, and some people want a meal plan. But really, at the foundation is just this nutrient density where we're supporting the body and the thyroid with nutrients that are going to support every function in their cells. And so I like to just start with food because it's the one, I mean, your thoughts are an input every day, your food is an input every day. And that's where we get this baseline of, okay, based on the food that like based on how do they respond when they're on a program with food that is really supportive. And I hesitate to say program, but it's just nutrition is really important, right?
Yeah.
And also I stress that This is not dogmatic. You don't have to start over on Monday. You go to a birthday party and you eat a piece of cake. Like everything that you do once you start this journey is just learning, right?
Mhm.
So when we say that, we take away the shame in it.
Yes. No
Uh,
perfectionism in this.
right. And that's really like at the root of doing health softer, because I do think, over the years, I've been doing this for 7 years, people just get trapped in that perfectionism and that fear and kind of what we were talking about earlier, where there's just so much riding on this. They feel like there's so much riding on this. And I've always talked about this sort of zoom in, zoom out method, right? Like if you are stressed, maybe it's because you're too zoomed in and we need to zoom out a little bit, right? Where you're like, oh, I'm so focused on like this next food has to be this next food has to be this. I'm so stressed about this, right? And it's like, okay, let's pause and zoom out. Like, let's look at the timeline of your life. This is a blip on the radar. And then they can kind of be like, oh, yeah, that's right. You were too close to it.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, how many meals do we eat in a week? Like at least 20. So
Yeah.
if we can reduce that perfectionism, right? Like 20/80 rule even. Oh
Yes.
my gosh, the 20/80 rule was such a good tool for me to think of it as
Mhm.
like 80% of the time I'm going to aim to be really on board with taking care of
Yeah.
myself deeply, and I'm going to give myself that like 20% wiggle room. And really it started more like 60/40, but we
Yeah.
get there eventually, right? And that's the key.
Yeah.
Feeding yourself, fueling yourself with something positive and wholesome
Mhm.
once is better than 0 times.
1,000%. Yes. Yes. I'm going to put that in my starter kit.
Yes, do it.
Because it is. Yeah. Like that's yes. 100%. And that's softening, right?
Yes.
That's softening. That's saying like, hey, babe, you don't have to be perfect all the time. In fact, it would be insane to try to be. Right.
It truly is insane to try to be perfect. And it's a trap that so many of us fall in,
Mhm.
again, not because of a failing of our own, but society
Yeah.
and authority figures that
Mhm.
rigidly tell us we need to be one way and check all these boxes and show up perfectly. And
Mhm.
those are the stories we get to release.
Yeah.
And I love this image that our cells are constantly taking in what's good for them and getting rid of what's not.
Mhm. Mhm.
And starting with like the cell of our pinky finger and picturing it letting go of its
Yeah.
stuff like little fireworks, and then letting that ripple into our body and picturing that our body is just letting all of this stuff go. Like let the stories go. If you find yourself in a story, can you imagine yourself transmuting that and
Yeah.
softening and letting it go?
Do you have meditations for that?
I need to create some.
Yes.
I have so many meditations and so many meditations I want to create, and that would be a good one. That would be a
Yeah.
really good one.
Yeah. Yes, that would be a really good one. So I'm curious for you, and if you're comfortable with it, because we were talking a little bit about like the worthiness and like the fatigue. There was this question that I was thinking about the other day as like, what from like the spiritual and emotional standpoint is like, what am I gaining by staying unhealed?
Mm,
Right. And I I think we all gain something by not healing. And so I'm curious if you're comfortable talking about it. Do you feel like there is something that like if you stay unhealed, it's serving you in some way?
yeah. So interestingly enough, it has to do at this point in time. I have
Yes,
done
naturally.
so much work. In the past, it used to be very much like I'm not worthy of
Yeah,
love. I'm not worthy of safety. I'm not worthy of those things. When I tuned in and asked, what is it about these days? I
yeah.
got, if you're even healthier, you'll have to be even more productive. Ooh.
Ooh,
And
yes.
that was your question. So Whitney had asked a question about on Substack about people and symptoms, and
Yeah,
you were asking about staying stuck
yeah.
and you're not healing. And I said, what I want is to have more energy to do what I want to do.
Right.
So it's interesting to tune in and go, oh, but I'm worried if I have energy, I'll have to be more productive. Fascinating that. Now, I want to throw out this book. I don't remember the author off the top of my head, nor do I have it out here on this shelf. It's in my therapy room, but it's called How to Heal Yourself When No One Else Can.
Ooh.
And it taught me, I read it while I was training to be a therapist. I made my own college course, and this was like one of the books that I
Oh,
read as part of that. And it
uh-huh.
taught things like EFT,
Yeah.
the emotional freedom
Yes.
technique tapping. It talked about the thymus. It talked about affirmations. It talked about meridian points. It talked about all these things. There's a whole chapter that has a list of probably 50 or more statements of what we gain when we are not healed.
Mm.
So I'll have
Yes.
to snap a picture of that
Oh
for
my gosh,
people.
please.
But it's things like, if I'm not healed, no one will love me anymore. They won't give me attention. They won't give me their time. I won't have something to talk about. I'll have to be
Mhm.
more productive. Like, there's so many
Same.
reasons why we think we need to hang on to this illness as identity.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I mean, I used to really, like I said, I'm now in trying to be in the both and of like not being in the ableism,
Mhm.
acknowledging it's hard. But then there was a point in time where I was like, I have fibromyalgia. I have
Yeah.
fibromyalgia. I have fibromyalgia. I have fibromyalgia.
Hello, I
Hi,
have
I'm
fibromyalgia.
chronically ill. Like, it was this,
Yes.
like, it became my identity for a
Yes.
time too. And that wasn't great for me either.
Because why? How can you feel better, right? When
Right.
that is who you are now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think everybody with chronic illness goes. I think there are like, we should really hash this out at some point
The
where there's like,
faces.
yeah, you know how there's like the five or whatever phases of grief. It's like, what are the phases of chronic illness? Because that's one of them.
Yeah, and it is, I bet it follows the grief structure
Yeah.
very similarly, because of course there's the is there something wrong with me, and the depression that comes with whatever we're feeling, and then there's the rage of the diagnosis that we get, and how can this be it, or is this really it?
Yeah.
And then there's the bargaining.
Control and bargain. Yeah,
Control.
I don't know what all the phases of grief are, but like is the bargaining like trying to show up with the nutrition stuff? Like, oh, if I eat this,
If I
then
eat
maybe I'm
perfectly,
good. Yeah.
then maybe I'll be able to get through this.
Ah,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah, oh
Mm,
my gosh. There's so much to this, and
mm,
it really does come back to the self-valuation stuff. My friend Meryl, who's a EFT practitioner, always, when I have a flare, she's like, "Okay, where did something great happen that a part of you then immediately went, 'Oh, but we don't get that.'" And that is so much, it's like we can have this very positive mindset, and then that story, that old story, that exile comes in and creates the spike again, and that's where we get to be soft again.
Yes, yes, yes. It's just there's so many layers to this. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, and it's life work, you know?
Yes. Please stop trying to chase the quick fixes, my friends, because
Yeah.
that's really where the harm ends up happening, because then we shame and guilt ourselves for the quick
Mm,
fix not working. And
yes. Yeah. 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 I think it's like so important to have the tools, right? Like the tools that you teach and like the tools that I teach through nutrition and just knowing like we can't be in our tools all the time because we also have to live our lives, right?
yeah, I always say, like, it's our goal as a parts therapist. For me, it's my goal
Mhm.
to get my clients access to self.
Yes.
Self being that higher self. But,
Yes.
oh my god, we would be so freaking boring if we were in self all the time. If every human walked around in self all the time, we would all look and act the same. There would
Mhm.
be no substance to life. There'd be no excitement. Like, it'd just be calm
Mhm.
and zen all the time, and that'd be boring. So we just want to be able to connect that thread to the higher self to say, I love you. You're gonna be okay. You
Mm.
got this.
Mhm.
And to bring in that softness. And
Mm.
then the rest of the time we're human.
Yeah. Yes. 100%. That is such a beautiful way to look at this and operate from.
Yes.
Yeah. Mhm.
So, Whitney, you have programs, you have protocols, you help people navigate these kinds of things. If
Yeah.
people feel called to connect with you, where are some of the best places to connect with you?
Yeah, Instagram is great. So it's just at Whitney Shook, like I'm all shook up. And you'll be able to find links to my Hashimoto's sort of low ticket guys. It's It's $27 to get access to my Hashimoto starter kit. And the reason why is because the world is hard,
Yeah.
And I like, this is what I used to teach to one-on-one clients in terms of nutrition. And it's just there for you for $27, a 60-page book. We go over like lab markers and the nutrition piece. And then also like the doing health softer philosophy, where let's tune into this before we go further, right? And then, yeah, you can come hang out with me on Instagram. And I do have some very limited one-on-one spots if you feel like you're somebody who if just feels so complicated, or, you have a tendency to get into those shame spirals or the hypervigilance, and you need someone to hold your hand a little bit more. I do have some one-on-one slots that you can reach out and DM me about. They're not public.
Beautiful. Yeah. And I will make sure all the links are in the show notes. So feel free to check down there.
Cool.
But Whitney, is there anything else like that you just want to offer in unconditional love for the people listening today on this illness as a portal topic?
Yeah, I think, nothing that you're experiencing, like if you are in crisis or you're hurting right now, or you're in that season of really being hyper focused or in your identity around your chronic illness, I just want you to know that it's not going to be this way forever. It doesn't have to be. And that like in this moment, you are safe and you can be held, right? Like you can come into the center of your heart and just hold yourself, right? Like so many of us have been hurt. So many of us got here because we have been hurt and life has hurt us. But deep within ourselves, we can tend to that inner knowing, that inner self, right? And that ultimately is where the healing starts. When it comes to chronic illness, it's not about everything else.
Yes. Tune inward.
Yeah. What about you? What's your heart message? You're so good with words. Like, just give it to us. Give it to us. We need it. We need your medicine.
Oh, well, I just want to say, as somebody who has gone through the whole chronic illness rodeo, right? No judgment. Like, there really is no judgment, even though I call the hard stuff out and I say, we are responsible for ourselves. We are responsible for ourselves. There's no one else coming to save us.
Yeah.
There's no external authority figure who can tell us exactly the right answer. So just like you said, the most important thing we can do is tune inward, listen to those parts of ourselves. You don't want to feel like this. If you're feeling chronic pain, fatigue, I know you don't want to feel like this. So how can you soften and listen to your own needs that are trying to be cried out for? Right? What are you really needing?
And I think also like you don't have to do it alone.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't. There's people you can hire professionally. There are free communities out there. There are support groups out there. There are all kinds of opportunities to know that we're not alone. Even just listening to a podcast like this to know that other people go through it.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. There's so many ways.
So seek what you need to seek, right? Again, there is no one size fits all. There's no medical intervention perfect. There's no one nutritional fix. We're all unique individuals.
Yes. 100%. Yeah. This was like such a fun conversation. And thank you so much for having me on. I have loved every minute of it.
Absolutely. I'm so glad to have had you here and to just have had this conversation. I hope that it benefits someone out there. I'm sure it will, just for more self-love, self-forgiveness too.
Oh, yeah, I felt that. Felt that in my body.
Love yourself, forgive yourself. Know that we are here. Whitney's here if you want that extra support around the holistic nutrition. And I'm here if you want support on literally the laundry list of things I support on. You know where to find us. We love you so much. We see you, we believe in you, and we are cheering you on.
Yes.
So until next time, my friends, thank you so much, Whitney. Thanks to anyone listening in. We'll see you back here again sometime soon. Bye for now.
That brings us to the end of this conversation today. Thanks for being brave enough to walk in the shadows with me. If you found value in this episode, please consider subscribing to Shadowside with Safrianna wherever you listen to your podcasts, and leave a review to help others find this space of transparency and expansion. You can also connect with me at safrianna.com for more information. Until next time, know I'm loving you fiercely and cheering you on.